Ho-hum, just another number one recruiting class at Alabama. MarkRogersTV, the voice of college football, covering the Tide, courtesy Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama, with, of course, the second National Signing Day less than 2 weeks away. Nick Saban at the number one spot again, even though he couldn't finish the football season at number one, and a lot of coaching news to pass along as well. Stephen, how you doing tonight?
Doing well, Mark. Usually joining you on Wednesday, but today it's Friday. How are you?
I'm doing just fine. I'm doing great. Unfortunately, we can't see you. That would be perfect. But with your knowledge, insight, and information, that will carry the day. So let's start with this recruiting class. So we've got 15 enrolled already. We've got 9 signed letters of intent, and we've got 3 hard commits right now. So those hard commits, obviously, they haven't signed yet. So there is a possibility that those guys could go elsewhere. Who are those guys on the fence that maybe you've committed to other teams that Nick Saban could pull into the fold, or maybe some that are a little precarious and Saban could lose?
2 guys, Mark, that I'm looking at right now. I see Keelan Robinson, the running back, 4-star from the Maryland area. Now, during the first signing day, the first day of the early signing period, I remember Michael Loxley told quite a few players from that area, including Keelan Robinson, keep your commitment to Alabama. Don't flip from the program because of me, Nick Saban, and the staff. They've got the coaches. They've got the criteria needed for you to be successful. But Keelan Robinson, one of those guys that's on the fence, a running back who's a commit right now. And then behind him, I look at a guy by the name of Christian Harris, who's kind of a tweener in a sense between being a cornerback and a safety. He's got pretty good size, but he doesn't have the hip movement or the hip fluidity to be a polished corner right now. And especially with that exercise, the numbers to bring in about 30 players, there's a good chance that Alabama could lose Christian Harris to the program. Now it was able to bring in Jordan Battle, Brandon Turnage, along with a couple of other guys. So I look at Keelan Robinson from the Maryland area. There's 2 guys that are really kind of on the fence. And I look at Christian Harris as the guy that Alabama could potentially lose, the tweener between corner and safety.
Hey, Stephen, as I talk to other contributors and guests, Chris Bogle is a name that comes up as, even though he's a hard commit to Alabama, he hasn't signed. And there are other programs out there, specifically Miami. They have mentioned him. I'm trying to think. There's another program out there that I talked to just in the last couple of days that had hopes of still prying him away from Tuscaloosa.
Chris Bogle is a high commit right now. It's a player. I know the primary recruiter for him at Alabama at one point in time was between Tosh Lapoy and Craig Kulagowski. Now, Lapoy gone to the Cleveland Browns as a defensive line coach. Craig Kulagowski with one final assignment in terms of recruiting before he also let go by the coaching staff. So at this point, we're looking at Jeff Banks and Sal Sunseri, and also Pete Golding. More so Pete Golding. It's becoming now Pete Golding's responsibility to land Chris Bogle completely into the fray. But we're talking about a big-time, massive defensive recruit, somebody that's tenacious off the football, creating rush to the quarterback as a defensive end or as a stand-up jack rush linebacker. Originally, the assignment to get Bogle fell on Tosh Lapoy and Craig Kulagowski, but with Lapoy gone, with Kulagowski possibly headed out prior to spring ball, Golding has assumed the job of trying to make sure that Alabama lands Chris Bogle for this class.
Talking Alabama football with Stephen M. Smith of Touchdown Alabama. So that's touchdownalabama.net. Please join him and the rest of the staff right there. They've got a YouTube channel as well and do a fine job of covering the Tide, all sports. Obviously, our deal is football.